Undisputed 4, or as we call it, Boyka Undisputed, is the number 4 in this series, which started as a different movie with Ving Rhames and Wesley Snipes, directed and written by Walter Hill. It was a prison movie. It was about proper boxing. I was involved in this one, and then I was involved in the number 2 and number 3, and obviously I love this project, and that's why I wanted to do number 4.
What we wanted to do was, you know, kind of bring a new twist to the Boyka character and to the story. And that was one of the elements of the script that was just so amazing, because you still have this Boyka character that all us fans love, but this story is layered with a story about redemption and forgiveness, and Boyka goes into his character to a much deeper and darker place than he has ever gone before.
And where we find him in this film, he's more religious than ever, I would say. And he's a very complex character, actually, which I really enjoy about him. He's, you know, he's a religious guy, but he's got this fury within him, this darkness inside of him, which probably he can tap into that as a fighter. And that's one of the reasons why he's, you know, one of the best fighters on the planet, because he's got this thing within him that's quite dark, and he can channel that in the ring. But I think in his personal life, this is something that has brought him no end of trouble. You know, this is the reason why he's in prison in Undisputed 2. And in this film, he goes to church, he donates a lot of his money to the church. He's doing everything that he can to become a better person in the eyes of God.
Yuri, we are very grateful for all your donations that help build this church. But if it's salvation you seek, violence is not the answer.
But I told you, it's a sport. We have rules.
Even if you do have rules, do you think God approves of what you do?
I think God gave me this gift. And I think it would be a sin to waste it.
He's basically trying to save himself so that he has a place in heaven. But also, he harbors this dream of being the world's most complete fighter, that he wants to be a champion. So when that opportunity comes, and he believes that this is a gift from God, he has a chance to prove to the world that he can be a champion. And he harnesses this darkness within him. It actually gets him in trouble again.
At the end of Undisputed 3, Boyka, you know, finally got his chance at freedom. You know, he escaped with his life intact and was going to pursue his dream. And that's kind of where we pick up Undisputed 4, where we see Boyka finally going to the big leagues, as we say. We follow his manager, and who finally gets him the fight of a lifetime, where tournament scouts are going to be coming to see his fight and to analyze his abilities and see whether or not he's worth taking up to, you know, the European Divisional Championships. And there, Boyka gets in the ring, and he gives it everything he's got. But an unfortunate accident in the ring causes the death of the fighter across from him. In this sends Boyka spiraling down emotionally, looking for peace and comfort in his own mind. And the guilt of having killed somebody leads him on a mission to find the fighter's wife.
I think what makes Undisputed 4 different than the other two is the story is a little bit more wide open. You're not confined into a prison, into a cell. We've now taken Boyka and taken him out of that environment. And yet in doing so, we still kept him sort of chained, because we explored not the physical prison that Boyka had always been in before. Now it's more about, you know, the internal prison he has locked himself in.
It's finding the balance of giving the audience what they expect from the previous films, but yet taking Boyka on a different journey, a place that we haven't seen him. And still keeping him Boyka, you know. We don't want to change him too much. I think people love the character because he doesn't take any shit, and he's kind of gruff, and, you know, he's always in a bad mood, he never smiles. But we do take him to a place in this movie where you will see a different side of him. What was interesting was that when some of the first scenes we did were actually some, you know, lighter sort of where Boyka is in this film. It's uncharted territory, you know. he's trying to be a bit softer towards the leading lady, the predicament that's going on there. So some of the first scenes that we did was so uncharacteristic of Boyka that I was actually second-guessing myself, thinking, hang on a minute, is this Boyka? This doesn't feel like Boyka. I'm not sure about this. And then, of course, it wasn't long after that where we did a scene which was like real Boyka, you know, the anger came out and it was like, yeah, okay, there's Boyka. We've got him.
No, wait. Thought I told you to leave this town.
Now don't give a shit what you said.
How did I come up with the accent for Boyka? It's a bit of a funny story, I guess. Everybody always asks me that question, and it was kind of easy, to be honest. I'm a big Sylvester Stallone fan, so obviously I've watched Rambo 3 quite a few times. And the bad guy in Rambo 3, I always remembered his voice.
Who is this John Rambo?
And so when I started thinking about Yuri Boyka, I couldn't stop thinking about this guy from Rambo 3. I forget the actor's name. Good actor.
And he just had this thing in his voice where he spoke like this, Spetsnaz.
And then I adapted that voice.
Made it a little bit deeper, you know. And somewhere here I found Boyka, Yuri Boyka. For some reason my lip curls up like this when I do him, which I don't know why, but it helps. Bring me your fucking champion.
If we didn't know Scott was born in London, you would expect him to be Russian. I mean, he is a guy who can play a lot of different roles, but he's really channeled Boyka over the years and grew into this character. He brings in a personality and determination and the effort that I haven't seen with any other actor. These action set pieces that we have in the movie are brutal. So a guy who spends tirelessly in the gym 24/7 training, and when he gets on set, I mean, he puts everything on the line. That's why our sequences look so unbelievable, because they're real. You know, the sweat that you see, the blood that you see, I mean, a lot of that is just Scott putting everything into every shot that he has.
The action sequences excite me the most to shoot, but it's not an excitement of, oh, I can't wait to do that. I actually dread the action sequences because I know how much pressure I put on myself to not only done what I've done before, but to raise the bar. And when you've done things that people consider to be, I guess, you know, pretty high up there, raising the bar is not easy. You just got to get it into your head so that when they say action, you're not thinking, what's the next move? It just, you're not thinking, it's happening. Because, you know, you do it so quickly that you can't actually think about it. It just has to be a reactive thing. So repetition, repetition, repetition. You just go over the fights again and again and again until it's natural. And that's martial arts.
I've been a big fan of the Undisputed movies since I saw Undisputed 2. So what attracted me was Undisputed 2 and 3. I mean, I love those movies. And actually my dream project was to one day make a movie like Undisputed. It's easy to work with Scott Adkins. I mean, especially for the fights. You need to find something in the story that makes each fight unique. For example, the fight with Victor, the husband that Boyka accidentally kills. That fight needed to have a bit more of a drama in it. I mean, you wanted to feel, for example, Victor, you wanted to feel that he's a nice guy, he's more like a sport guy. And Boyka is also a sport guy, but he's more like in this fight he's more the evil guy, like he just wants to get to his goal, you know. Obviously Victor also wants it, but Boyka wants it more, and he don't really care what happens, he just go for it.
When you see the end product, when you see the fight scenes edited together, and that's the most exciting part. That's when you realize, yes, it was worth it. All the pain was worth it. I really hope that people can go out and legitimately buy the film and pay for it, and not download it and not pirate it, because at the end of the day, it's a small film. So if you enjoy films like this, and I know that many of you do because I hear it every day, please, please, please find a way to legitimately buy the movie through legitimate means, so that the film makes money and we can make another one and another one after that, and maybe even with a bigger budget, and give you guys more of what you clearly love to see.